Like the creamery, the post office was a hub of Irish rural life. Many also featured a grocery. In Inistioge, County Kilkenny, 74-year-old Kitty Drea runs such a shop. Kitty grew up on a nearby farm.
Against my wishes, I did a bit of tin beat and a few things. I never did it with a good heart. I liked the idea of it all right, but not the work end of it.
When Kitty finished school in 1956, she found work in New Ross, County Wexford.
My father got a job for me in an office in New Ross. I started there, stayed there for 3.5 very happy years. The wages weren't huge. Money was scarce, but nobody owed anything.
But 3 years of office work prepared Kitty for a new challenge.
I didn't want to go away to work. I didn't want to go to Dublin, or I wanted to stay around the general area. Then the post office in Inistioge was on offer. Postmaster from Kilkenny came down, interviewed me with his clerk and said, "I'll let you know in a month or so."
Kitty Drea was just 23 when she took over Inistioge's post office in 1960.
There seemed to be women all over the place anyway, in every post office I knew. No, I said, "Oh, mother of God, how am I going to go up there?" It seemed a long way.
Irish rural life often centred on the village post office. Phone calls were patched through, pensions collected, and even cattle insemination arranged. Inistioge postmistress Kitty Drea loved the community side of her job.
It was very important socially. There's nothing else really that time. The vast majority of people either walked or cycled down. I mean, the cars were even scarce then. So the vast majority of people walked down and they weren't in a hurry and had a chat and a smoke, and that was it.
But it wasn't all chat for Kitty. The Inistioge Post Office was a busy business enterprise.
We had a telephone exchange. The subscribers rang, you answered it, and you connected the call then. Sometimes it's difficult to get through to the different exchanges. At least they used to tell us the lines were engaged anyway. Very few people had telephones. 3 or 4 farmers, the guards, the priest, co-op, that's about it.
Local farmers also met at the post office come cattle insemination time.
Came in and said, "Ring the AI," that was it, you did the rest. When is the cow noticed, and is it a repeat or first time, and the breed and the whole lot. We knew every cow in the country.
Even as late as the 1970s, not all rural homes had a phone. Telegrams were the common form of communicating important news.
We heard the good and the bad. New babies arriving, people dying, and some families worked in England. Father worked in England and sent home money every weekend. There was nobody assigned to deliver telegrams, so it's a bit of a problem. We had one man who was great for doing it all right. She'd only get about 3 or 4 shillings. You might have to go maybe 5 miles with a telegram. We had 3 postmen that time, and they sorted the mail. They went out on their ways. We had one man anyway, and he'd say, "Would you give us a loan of 5 shillings until the weekend, taking out my wages?" By the time the weekend came, he had very little left.
Rural telephone exchanges were on call day and night.
The hours were long. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. You just got up and did it. It was part of what you had to do. But then the postman, if I wanted to go to a dance, he was great. He used to let me go, and he'd do the few hours on a Sunday evening. But there were long hours. Suddenly now I realised how long they were. I don't think I would like to go back to that now again.
Running a busy post office was a big responsibility for a woman in her 20s. Even through the 1990s, there were no computers, so accounts had to be done by hand.
It was a bit of an undertaking now when I look back on it, Balancing out the accounts at the end of the week was the worst part. If you make a mistake, you have to put your hand in your pocket. Simple as that. So you'd be fairly cautious. Some didn't add up, hard luck. We had an audit every year. The postmaster came out with his clerk and his briefcase. And then you had to have ends meeting when he arrived. So that was an awful old day.
But not all women were forced out of paid employment. In Inistioge, Kitty Drea continued as a private contractor. Once married to husband Jim, Kitty went on to have 6 children, but she was always back at the hatch within days of those special deliveries.
Gone for a week or so. Came back then, back to business again. That was it. You have the baby in one arm and the telephone in the other, and, you know. I'll tell you, I used to leave them outside the door as well during the summertime. People coming and going, went over and had a chat with them, and they were delighted.
As well as customers, children spilled out of the post office.
God, it never even crossed my mind to give up. Never crossed my mind. I multitasked. No, it wasn't that difficult. It wasn't that difficult. And then as one grew up, you know, they looked after each other.
In the 1970s, Kitty Drea expanded her Inistioge Post Office to include a general store.
Small grocery, bit of everything like that, and, you know, small bits of delf and mainly grocery. We had whipped ice cream as well then, and that wasn't here before. That was a take. But the bother of it, oh mother of God. 10 o'clock in the night you could have half it left, and, you know, you couldn't leave it over for the next day. You had to empty it out and wash the whole thing, and oh, it was a big undertaking.
With emigration and the rise of supermarkets, the lifespan of a small grocer had its own sell-by date. Kitty closed her grocery in 1988.
Bigger stores opened in Kilkenny, in New Ross and around locally, and you couldn't compete with them, so, I mean, it's a waste of time. You know, you'd sell milk and bread, but that wasn't profitable, so we gave up the shop. The day for the small shop has gone round.
Big changes came to Inistioge as well. In 2000, Kitty Drea's post office was computerised.
We were automated, and that made a big difference. It was very intimidating, but I'll tell you, I had a wonderful instructor. With the only old age pensioner I think he had on his books. Anytime I got kind of jittery about it, he said, I'll tell you now, when you lose a few pounds, you won't be long smartening up, you won't lose it again. But it made life easy for everyone. It's much easier.
Thanks a lot.
With robberies on the increase, rural security had also become a big issue.
When I started, you know, you could put the money in a drawer under the counter. It's a bit different now always, you have to be a lot more cautious. All offices have time lock safes, panic buttons, burglar alarms. We're well secure. Bye-bye.
New services like phone cards and banking. Kitty Drea's post office in Inistioge is still a meeting place.
Oh Lord, I think it's essential in a rural area. The pubs are even dying out now, you know, with no drink driving, and so we're nearly the last port to call. People, if they collect their pensions and their things, you know, they tend to spend some of it around locally, and it's kind of good for the whole community.
In 2010, Kitty Drea celebrated 50 years working as Inistioge's postmistress. Her friends organised a surprise party to mark the big anniversary.
We had a great night. I got some fright. It was very emotional, very, because I had no inkling in the worldwide. It was lovely, and I appreciated it. They went to an awful lot of bother.
At 74, Kitty works as hard as ever in her post office.
If I were starting again, I would do the very same thing. I wouldn't change a thing. It's a good life. And you make an awful lot of friends, very good friends. I don't think you get a more satisfying job. I really don't. I really don't.